Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Viking Chats podcast. I'm delighted to be joined today by none other than Verona Frankish, CEO of YOPA.
Good
Verona,
to see you.
so good to see you again, and thanks for joining me today.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
We eventually lured you
I
down
know,
to
it's
Shoreditch.
taken a wee while, but we got there.
I mean, it's
yeah.
fair enough. When you're running a nationwide operation, don't always have that much time in your diary to pop into a cocktail dungeon and talk to a business
It's not the
fellow.
usual setup for a pod,
This
I'm not
isn't
going to
what
lie.
every estate agent backroom looks like.
No.
So look, obviously you and I have got to know each other fairly well over the last few years. But for anyone living under a rock, can you just give us a little bit about who you are and what you do now, and then we're going to delve a little bit into your
backstory
journey.
Sure. So today, and for the last 4.5 years, I have been the CEO of YOPA, which is a national hybrid estate agency, tech-enabled, no high street offices, but offering a wide range of products and services to our customers. In addition to that, I am the chair of the board of Women in Estate Agency and have been for just over 3 years now.
Which is really how you and I got to know each other.
It is, yeah, absolutely. And I guess a number of events and different things over the calendar years.
Events?
Yeah, I know, right? We both like an event.
We don't do it.
So I've been in property about 7.5 years now, I would say. But the chunk of that being at YOPA.
So not long before YOPA.
No. So I moved into property from financial services. So I was at Mortgage Advice Bureau for about 8 or 9 years.
Okay. So a lot of people
on the supply side.
That's a serious business.
Phenomenal business. Yeah. Phenomenal business. Yeah. And I learned a lot at that business. And when I was there, my job was I was head of business development. What that meant was I reported directly into Peter, the CEO, and he's full of ideas. He's a real archetypal entrepreneur, lots of innovative ideas. And my role essentially was to take his 300 crazy ideas
and find the 3 that were really good
and distill them down into practical projects and processes that could work and have business application and enterprise value. And one of those at the time when I was there, fintech and PropTech were really nascent, and they were starting to kind of evolve as the next generation of property and financial services. And one of those projects that I worked on was Purple Bricks. So how do we unlock the mortgage potential from this new PropTech model? So that was kind of my step into the property sector per se.
I mean, interesting for a lot of larger nationwide operations. I mean, financial services is a huge part of that business.
Essential.
Yeah. So it's quite interesting coming at it from that kind of background. To me, makes sense.
Yes, completely.
From a large operational kind of.
So I actually went to Purple Bricks as the mortgages director. So from 15 years in that part of the industry, and then went into mortgages. But very quickly when I was there, a lot changed. So then my portfolio expanded to conveyancing and lettings, of all things. So I ended up being there for 2.5 years.
The conveyancing I get, lettings, interesting that.
It wasn't because I was an expert in lettings by any stretch of the imagination. It was because Vic Darby was appointed CEO, and there was a lot of change in the exec leadership team. So I predated him. I joined the business before he did. I guess he trusted my delivery and what I was doing, and he wanted to really kind of align responsibilities in all the key parts of the business. So he asked me to look after lettings, and I said, I'm more than happy to do it. I'm very much, and always have been, a person who has stepped out of their comfort zone on a very regular basis. I love challenging myself. I love learning new things. I'm really not afraid to say, I don't understand this, or I don't know much about this. I'm always willing to learn. So I said, I don't know much about it, but I'm really happy to dive into
that more later, because those are not typical characteristics, or not that we typically hear.
Yeah.
About
a lot of people don't like
particularly
change.
Women in the workplace, and particularly at senior level.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but there's no question that without having done that 2.5 years of Purple Bricks, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. So I'm incredibly fortunate in that regard.
Did you hear about YOPA and go looking for it? Did they come knocking on the door?
So after I left Purple Bricks, I took the summer off with my kids. It's the first time in
So you decided to leave. You were like,
It was a mutual decision, Kristjan. Frankly, it was a mutual decision.
Okay.
The business was going in a direction that I was not comfortable with.
Yeah.
And I'm the sort of person that
Stands by
my
your
values
principles.
and my principles. And
again, not something particularly at senior level.
Yeah, I mean, look,
That's brave.
It depends on the environment, right? And a psychologically safe environment is incredibly important. At that time, that place was not a psychologically safe environment. So, and therefore, what that does to one in a mentally, physically, and all the other manifestations of how you feel about that, then I'm pretty good at recognizing myself when things aren't right for me.
Yeah.
So I had a break. I was doing some consultancy for that, again, that people had approached me about. I had a lot of conversations with businesses at the time, a lot of offers, and I wanted to be very intentional about what I did
next. It doesn't sound like you were in a rush.
I was not in a rush.
Summer off.
Yes.
Enjoy time with the fam.
So I was 51.
I imagine you weren't even definitive you wanted to stay in.
No, not really.
Right?
Not really. I'd been in 3 different sectors at that point. I'd always been in leadership roles, always. And I'd been in 3 different sectors: retail, financial services, and then property. And I was very open to what the next path or the next chapter could be. But I was very clear that I wanted the next chapter to be my last kind of big gig, meaningful gig.
The big one. And it needed the principles and values that
exactly.
you could
the right environment, the right team, the right people. All of those things were really important to me. So whatever sector they were in was largely irrelevant.
Yeah.
It was more about the right environment and the right opportunity.
And I think this is the interesting thing when you get to executive level operated businesses.
Yeah.
I think this is something in agency, because the vast majority of us are small operations.
Yeah.
Like we have with Base. 1, 2, 3 branches, small teams. Living and breathing estate agency is everything. And I think you quite often see flippant comments, and I'm sure I've made some, particularly historically in the past, about a CEO stepping in with 0 background in property, and you're like, oh Christ, here we go again. Let's see what the roller coaster ride is with that. But I think the reality is, at an executive level, you're not technically needing to necessarily understand property law or lettings legislation.
Absolutely.
You're there to drive the business forward in terms of its key objectives, and that's what you have an incredible team for. Is you've got your lettings expert, you've got your.
So if I talk about my team now, everybody that leads each of my functions in the business are all experts in their area. Yeah. I'm not experts in any one of those areas. So I'm not an expert estate agent. Tom Greenacre leads our franchise operation, our associate model. He is an absolute estate agent expert and has been in leadership roles and done the job and across various different models and brands. And I lean to him in a lot of instances. Now, of course, over the years, you build up that level of expertise. And look, I'm not saying I'm completely green in that regard.
But look, there's nothing wrong with having a team of experts, right?
Absolutely. And they're all better at each individual functions than I ever would be.
And that's the thing, I think, with a bigger business, or at least a business that has bigger aspirations.
Yes.
For a younger business like YOPA, although obviously you're more mature now, but particularly the phase when you join, I think it's about where you see the business going, and that gives you the ability to, like you say, go, right, I'm going to build a 10 experts in agency, business, operations, compliance.
Exactly.
And then we're good to go.
Exactly. And, I'm very much a firm believer that success is not a solo pursuit. You have to have great people, and not just experts in their field, but also that they're bringing something to the team, the dynamic of the team. They're bringing their perspective, they're bringing experience, they're bringing, and are happy to bring to the table, challenge, ideas, thoughts, innovation, creativity, and that comes together to create something magical. And if my job was just to tell people what to do, how boring would that be? A, for them, and B, for me.
Yeah.
That's not the environment that I want to work in. So go back to your original question, a headhunter for Daily Mail Group, which is our parent shareholder, reached out to me in the autumn of that year, 2021, and asked me would I consider having a conversation about a DMGT portfolio company. And of course, I knew that YOPA was a portfolio company. I also knew Landmark was. So I my initial response, and I've said this on record many times before, was, don't be ridiculous. I can't be a CEO. I don't want to be a CEO. Was never in my bingo card. But the more I thought about
Why not? Because you talked before about the fact you weren't afraid of being aspirational.
No.
You weren't afraid
No.
of
Yeah.
asking the questions. Bullshit. Why do you think that was that you?
So I think largely my perception of what a CEO looks like was not me. So it was male, pale, tall, sharp suit, ego.
Cool. John.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's Simon. There's more Simon CEOs than there is male women CEOs. Exactly. So yeah, called Simon, and interesting, my husband is called Simon Andrew, but that's funny. Aside from that, I had this perception of how a CEO would behave, and that's not who I am and how I operate.
So that's interesting. So it wasn't aspirational. It was, I just don't really see myself as that kind of
that sort of person.
Stuffy, boring.
Yeah. So no, that was a moment in time, and it was an emotional reaction. And then I just paused and I said, well, first of all, I'll have the initial conversation and see where that goes. And I'm always very much, no conversation is ever wasted. I always feel like in any interaction with people, I can learn something, I can meet someone, there will be some sort of benefit for me or them or both. So I went in to have the conversations, and then the more I got to know the opportunity, that for me, that was a big thing, the opportunity, then I did the due diligence for the company and the culture and the people, and I spoke to surreptitiously. I did some mystery shopping, all of those things. And the more I understood about the business and where it was and what the board was looking for in a CEO, I thought, okay, I could now be interested in this. Which is why then I put myself fully into the process, and I said to my husband at the time, I will go through this journey 100% authentically who I am. I'm not going to try and pretend to be something they think they want, or I think they think they want.
I'm going to be
just going to do me.
If I'm right,
then it's the right move. And if I'm not right, then that's cool too. But I'll meet a bunch of interesting people, and who knows what comes from that. And all of those things were true. But I was, fortunate enough in the end to secure the job. And yeah, the rest is history, I suppose.
The rest is history.
Yeah, and I've never looked back, and it's, without question, the best role I've ever had, probably because that's a combination of all of my experiences thus far, and I think we're all
and surely the excitement of being in that most senior role that you hadn't envisioned for yourself.
For sure.
That's also
achieving something that I hadn't ever thought.
And getting that being your authentic self as well. It's got to be. That's a lot of ticks. That's a lot of ticks in the box from what you want from a role and
for sure,
and an opportunity.
And it's interesting actually, because someone asked me previously, whenever you got that job, how did you celebrate? Did you feel like that's incredible, like it's a big deal? And there was an element of that. And what was really cute actually, my kids, I've got 3 children. Back then, so Eva's now 22 this month, so 4 years ago she would have been 17, 18, coming up to 18. Max would have been 15 and Lily would have been 11, and they were so pumped that I was even in the final. I ended up being in the final 2, and I had to go to the board and do a presentation in Savills boardroom, this biggest, longest boardroom table I've ever seen in my life. And, and I'm just like, in my head, always, I'm just a dairy girl, right? I'm just who I am. I don't pretend to be anybody else or anything different. I'm just a dairy girl doing my best. And I'm in this big boardroom, and I'm just doing me. And I was going down for this presentation, and my kids were sending me texts, badass mom, this is amazing. You're going to nail it. And I almost wanted it more for them than for myself.
But that's so sweet that they were engaged. I think, we have a lot of conversations about family and demanding careers and all this sort of stuff, and what's right, what's wrong, blah, blah, blah. But I think there's also an attitude, I think, particularly with kids going into their teenage years, that they're not really interested in what mum and dad do. Really.
My kids are not like that. But they're very engaged.
I mean, that's awesome. I mean, my kids, obviously, as you know, a lot younger. So I'm kind of, I'm waiting to let that kind of nurture itself. I don't go on too much about what I do. I kind of explain bits and pieces, but they're at an age yet where
Of course.
What a job.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're absolutely right. Do you know, I think what changed that and their engagement level, because for a long period of time, my husband's been in financial services his entire life. He now is really fortunate to do a wonderful job, which is giving back. He now he's the CEO of the MAB Foundation, which is their charitable foundation. So a business at scale, they've now reached a point where they are giving back into the industry that they serve, which is phenomenal. And he loves it and he's amazing at it. And so we've been in financial services for a long time. And during COVID, you'll be able to recognize this, I'm sure. We all took a pause and we all stepped off the treadmill for a period of our days. I was at Purple Bricks at the time. I didn't have one day of furlough. I worked harder in my life than any other.
I was going to say, like, not me and Anne.
Yeah.
So we launched Depository 2 weeks before COVID.
Oh, wow. Great timing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was fun. And like you said, we furloughed everyone.
Yeah.
Topped up everyone's salary. But Anne and I were like, well, we're not going anywhere.
Same. And I took a big pay cut. We all took a
chunk
of...
in our salaries. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We were like, goodbye dividends.
Yeah.
We don't know where the business is going.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's funny when I talk to people who are like, oh, you know, looking back, wasn't COVID glorious? Just lying in the garden. And I was like, I never got that bit of COVID. I was like, we were flat out.
We were, but here's the thing. And I know you live close by where you work. I was traveling around the country in and out of to Solihull on a daily basis. And what it did do was we didn't have to do that physical travel. So we were working remotely and it was a completely change of pace and operation. But it meant that we did a walk in the morning and a walk in the evening with the children. And the weather, if you remember, was outstanding. The weather was beautiful. So we spent a lot of time on those walks because as a family, we were talking about things that we would never have talked about before.
Because of the seriousness of the situation at the time, it kind of made you be like, we need to have the big conversations.
Absolutely.
We need to talk about the serious shit.
Yeah.
Because...
But it was like, what is a mortgage? So tell me, what is mortgage advice for you? What do you do? What's your job, Mum? What's your job, Dad? What is a mortgage? How does protection work? What is life and critical illness? So we were having all of these conversations and then they were observing because we were working from home, the conversations that we were having. We moved the entire Purple Bricks business from head office remote in a matter of days.
Yeah.
And, you know, that in itself was phenomenal.
Insane.
And them understanding how businesses operate and the challenges financially and the challenges in the market. Then there was the SDLT, stamp duty relief, and then the whole thing opened up. So during that time, I think that escalated and accelerated the pace of their understanding of what Mum and Dad did. So,
and like you said, their interest, a lot of their other hanging out with friends was taken away. Yeah. So, you know.
Exactly.
Let's dive
May as well find out what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. Might as well entertain ourselves with what we've got in the room, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So look, I'm very much aware we're on a limited clock today.
Okay.
So I do want to make sure we talk a little bit about WiEA.
Mm-hmm.
So yet again, for those living under a rock that we've introduced you to at the start of the session, for those who are unaware of what WiEA is,
I'll have the floor. So Women in Estate Agency, or affectionately known as WiEA, is started out as a Facebook group.
There we go.
Yes,
that one.
I couldn't speak. Co-founded by Leanna Laporta Brown and Claire Hughes during the time of COVID. Fabulous human beings. Both inspirational in very different ways, both incredibly inspirational women. They started a Facebook group, very small. They didn't have big aspirations, I don't think, that it would come to anywhere near what it is today during COVID, to try and connect women around the country who were facing different challenges, business challenges, family challenges, mental health challenges. That Facebook group then grew to a few hundred. I was one of the very early adopters. They also then had a very small podcast back in the day, and they interviewed me for the podcast. And it sort of grew to maybe 800 individuals in the Facebook group. And then at that time, we decided to form, there was a group of what I would call the louder voices. So those who really
top
adopted
contributors, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
They flag them as in groups.
Absolutely. But people who believed we could go beyond a Facebook group.
Who drove the conversation.
Exactly.
You started asking the bigger questions.
Yes.
Like, can we do more with this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what happened was, as we came out of COVID, we thought we should get this community together. It's a phenomenal community.
Now we're announcing it in person.
Yes, bring it out of the Facebook group.
Out of the Facebook group.
So we arranged our first conference in March 2022, and we had it in a little a venue that held 250 people, and I think we I say muddled it together. Bizarrely, we managed to convince a number of sponsors to support us. We managed to convince a lot of people to speak very authentically and very vulnerably on our stage. And I remember halfway through the day, we had this idea of being different from a traditional event. And I remember halfway through the day saying to Leanna, Jesus, this is really working. Like, this is exactly how we envisaged it, and it's landing, and people are engaging with it. By 11 o'clock, half the audience were in tears. So it was, and at the end of that day,
in a good way,
in a great way,
in a great way,
yeah. I mean, in an emotional way, but very much a connection way, and which demonstrated that we were touching something quite different and quite unique in the industry. So, and I'll never forget, I'd said to my EA, my YOPA EA, the day before, we haven't booked an after event or party or anything, because we were just like, trying to pull off this conference in the day. Can you see near the venue if there's the top floor of a pub or something that we can go to afterwards and just debrief, somewhere that holds maybe 50 people? Maybe if we get 10 or 20 people to come, great.
Right.
We put 200 quid behind the bar. I'll never forget. So we said at the end of the conference, if you want to come and join us for a debrief, we're going to be at this pub. When I walked in,
people turned up.
I walked in, it was jam-packed. It was spilling down to the pub. It was spilling outdoors. Luckily, it was a beautiful day. And we were just overwhelmed by the support, by the energy, by the feedback. And we then knew this is something really special. So 4 years later, in the meantime, we formed a committee. Claire and Leanna asked me to chair that committee with the support of the wider committee. And then we basically signposted that every year we do a conference. We then evolved that into leadership training, because we recognized that the conference wasn't actually a conference, hence why we called our recent one not a conference. It was more like empowerment. It was more about motivation. It was more about understanding what women can bring to the party and giving them the confidence to use the voice and the space to do so. And therefore, we want to do that in smaller groups. So that has evolved into leadership training, which is now supported by Rightmove, delivered by two also incredible females, Jo Bourne and Claire Yates, wonderful
who were
wonderful
literally
trainers.
in here just the other day.
Oh, they were? Amazing.
Had them both in.
Amazing. And, I had a meeting with them this week. We're now going to extend that for the next 2 years.
Brilliant.
We have a 2-year, we're just finishing our negotiations with Rightmove for another 2 years support. They're our primary financial partners. And we have so much support from so many other incredible suppliers, including yourselves, right across the industry. And, honestly, Kristjan, it is one of the proudest things in my life that to be involved with and to have helped in some small way shape and change the industry's view of women, what women can bring to the table, to improve how individual women feel about themselves. And I see them every single day step into, whether it's putting themselves on a video on social media, whether it's starting up a business, whether it's advocating for themselves in a difficult conversation, whatever it is, every single step that they take towards saying to someone, I'm not going to be silenced. I'm not going to be undervalued. I'm not going to devalue myself. I am worthy of this space, of this voice, of this platform, of this job. And it is phenomenal, genuinely phenomenal. It gives me goosebumps thinking about it.
I mean, I remember, so I don't think I was aware of the first one, because I think that was very much ladies only, if I remember correctly.
It wasn't, but we probably didn't promote as much that men were welcome. We had maybe less than 10% of men at that.
Yeah, because I can't remember if I was at that first one or not, because the telling of the pub sounds familiar. Shocker.
So it was in the room was like layered, and there was like
it was
desks.
on like a cobbled Muse street.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so I was there.
You had that picture outside when you were clicking your feet.
Yes, I was there.
You
there
were
we
there.
go. So no, I remember. So yeah, I remember being that, and I remember the
feels
very
like
busy
yesterday,
pub.
but that was 4 years ago.
Jesus Christ.
I know. Crazy.
I think. So, as you alluded to, and as is no secret to anyone, you and I both like an industry event.
We do. We like meeting people. Networking, collaborating.
And I think that's a really important point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we talk about the events, and I think that's a really important point, right? Because we talk about the events, and I think that's a really important point, right? Because we talk about the events, and I think that's a really important point, right? Because we talk about the events, and I think that's a really important point, right? Because we talk about the events, and I think that's a really important point, right? Because we talk about the events, and I think that's a really important point, right? Because we talk about the events, and I think that's a really important point, right? Because we talk about the events, and I think that's a really important point, right? Because we talk about the events, and I think that's a really important point, right? Because we talk about the events, and I think that's a really important point, right? Because we talk about the events, and I think that's a really important point, right? Because we talk about the events, and I think that's a really important point, right? Because we talk about the events, and I think that's a really important point, right? Because we talk about the events, and I think that's a really important point, right? Because we talk about the events, and I think that's a really important point, right? Because we talk about the events, and I think that's a really important point, right? Because we talk about the events, and I think that's a really important point 99% of why I go is the people that I see
Sure.
there, not who's talking on the stage,
Yeah.
not which supplier has a stand there. I'm really sorry, guys. But it is the people you see and the conversations you have in the room.
Exactly.
And I think without maybe targeting that, because you guys approached it from a different point of view, what was instantly apparent from your very first event was that it was this seismically different event. There was no, here's how you increase your instructions, or here's how you improve your fees.
And there is a place for that.
And there's a place for that.
Events
and
that do that.
I put on a nerdy, boring voice because just to wind people up, really. But look, there is absolutely a place for that. But there is already a lot of resource for that. We see that at pretty much all the other events.
We don't need another one.
You can go on YouTube. There are so many places where you can go and educate yourself. You can hire a coach to come into your business and teach you how to be a better door knocker or how to be a better valuer or whatever it is. And I think what was really apparent instantly from your very first event was the fact that the conversation was radically different.
Yeah. Yes.
It wasn't about the technicalities of the job. It was about the person that turns up to do
it's what's in here, and that has an impact on your ability to do your job. But what's in here and in here massively changes how we each approach our job. You know, you talked to me earlier about my approach to change and my approach to stepping into discomfort. I haven't always been like that. I've had to train those muscles over the years, and the more I've done it, the more confident I've become in doing so, and that's what it's about, you know, for anybody.
Interestingly, I find personally doing new things, scary as they are, I like scary things that are new because there's kind of no preconception.
Yeah, exactly.
I find a kind of framed opportunity, like, oh, you're built for this role and you're going to absolutely smash it because all you have to do is X, Y, Z. That I find a lot more intimidating.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, it's basically handed on a plate.
Yeah,
and
here's
like,
a framework.
If I do X, Y, Z, I'm going to achieve that. And if I don't, everyone's going to be like, how did he fuck that up?
Yeah.
You know, whereas, for me, I find what other people will often find more scary because of the unknowns.
Yeah.
I find those way more exciting. I mean, going back to COVID, it was a really interesting one. Like, a lot of people really didn't know, particularly in early days, how to address that. For me, there was total clarity.
Yeah, me too.
Like, when that hit, it was like, right, everyone
what we need to do.
Furlough, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, I sat down with Anne and I said, right, first thing we're doing is we're sending an email to every tenant going, we've got you.
Yeah.
And I don't think she'll mind me saying this. She went, sorry, you want to do what? And I went, we're going to send an email to every tenant. I was like, we've got landlords as well, obviously. But I was like, right now, it's the tenants that like us are shitting bricks about, do I have a salary? And if I don't have a salary, how the fuck am I paying my rent? And if I can't pay my rent, where am I living? And what does that mean? And, you know, I think literally a day after lockdown, we sent an email out to our entire tenant database going, we've got you. Like, we have no idea what's coming. We've got no idea how we're going to navigate it, but we're all in it together. So you get a problem, you get afraid, you come and talk to us. We can't promise anything other than we'll talk to your landlord and we'll find a way to make it work. And you know, Anne and I have always worked because we have this yin and yang to everything. And her natural reaction was like, Jesus, are you mad? We're going to have half our tenants go, oh yeah, work's not paying me. Can I stop paying rent? Or can I have a rent reduction? And of course, actually, the way humanity and psychology works was actually people were like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, and we were very lucky in that our tenant database was typically well looked after, well supported through furlough and blah, blah, blah. And actually, we ended up doing very few rent reduction or rent freezes or anything like that. So we're very lucky in that
proactive approach.
But that being thrown into it, and again, like I said, you know, we launched Depository 2 weeks before COVID, which was like, you know, in the long run, great. It's driven.
But we didn't know that in the moment, did we?
But in the moment, you know, we'd spent 5 years building a platform that, you know, we by then needed people to sign up
return on investment.
I think we signed 2 clients and lockdown hit, and it was like, oh, okay then. You know, and we very quickly had to pivot. And being an agent myself, I knew as much as we needed to sell, me sending sales emails, me
No.
calling up people being like, dude, you're working remotely. This is going to
Tone
help
deaf.
you. Jesus Christ. So we had to pivot, and we had to, we parked it, and we were like, okay, we can't sell the platform. And that was when we set up Agents Here to Help.
Yeah.
And we brought together a group of people, and we just started sharing help.
Which is essentially what WiEA was
and suppliers
as well.
And
exactly,
then
it's typically a different thing.
into consumers until things started to feel healthy again.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a really interesting journey. But no, I remember very specifically. I didn't actually realize it was I thought I'd missed your guys' very first event. I didn't realize that
you
one
didn't.
was it.
You didn't. Just on that point, actually, can I just add another thought on WiEA? So now that community is in the Facebook group is over 5,000 women, and we also have built a phenomenal group of male allies beyond the Facebook group. The Facebook group will always be females
And
only,
should be, yeah.
but beyond that, the support that we have through the wider industries is phenomenal. And I want to just touch and mention and thank actually the board, the Women in State Agency board, because every one of us give of our time completely for free. Yeah. It's a pro bono passion project is what I call it. Now, whenever you're doing something that you care about and it's in here, it doesn't feel like work. But the reality is it still takes up and eats into resource and time and travel, of course. And we do the WiEA pod and we drop
and pretty much everyone on your board is either a business owner or a senior business person.
They've all got big jobs.
A lot of them have family.
Exactly. Yeah, they do.
And everything that wraps into that.
And the way we operate as a board is I operate as a chair of the board in the same way I operate as a CEO at YOPA, which is we have experts in particular areas. So Kirsty is the marketing expert, Kyla is the financial expert, Amy's the sponsorship, business development expert, etc., etc. And all of them come back after board after board with this is what they need to go away and do. They come back, they report back, and they are all very much engaged and very much committed to this movement, this cause. So I think it's really important that we acknowledge that change does not happen. But what I was saying earlier, success is not a solo pursuit. No. Change does not happen.
And it's not linear, right?
No, and it's not a marketing campaign either. People have to do things to make change
And look,
happen.
I think that kind of leads into a question I wanted to raise with you. And I think whenever, let me frame this right, whenever you're setting out to challenge a system,
mm-hmm.
to affect change, there will always be a conflict of ideas of
mm-hmm.
what that change looks like and
yeah.
what that path looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's any secret that over the years I have had many conversations with women who have bought in 100% to various things that we have done or aimed to do, and equally there have been those conversations like,
mm-hmm.
disappointed they went this way and not that way.
Yeah.
What is that like? What is that like, carrying that? Because there is a huge responsibility that comes with that. Once you kind of stick that big badge on your
mm-hmm.
on your chest and you go, we are women in a state agency.
Yeah.
That's who we represent.
Yeah.
What is that like, trying to find that? Because like you said, there are alignments with business, but also at the same time, it's not a business.
No, absolutely,
there
it's
are
not a
business principles to it.
Yeah.
It has to
mm-hmm.
operate itself, but fundamentally, your objectives are not profit.
Yes,
it's change.
It's change. Yeah.
What is that journey like,
mm-hmm.
going through what must be at times quite frictious moments where there is a bit of a division, whether it's on the board or maybe more in the Facebook group, where people are like, actually, I'm not sure if this is where I feel we should be going,
mm-hmm.
or yes, this is absolutely where we should be going. What's that?
So you're absolutely right. And the bigger the group becomes, the more differing voices and perspectives and viewpoints and opinions you will get. And we have to acknowledge that you will never please all of the people all of the time. No. That's just life.
Like in any business.
Exactly.
Right? You try and please everyone.
And in life, and what we try to do, well, there's two things. So let's take the Facebook group first. There are rules of engagement in the Facebook group. So there's things like, you are not pitching your business in this Facebook.
Yeah.
That's not what it's about.
Yeah.
So if people try and do that, we have very much step-in rights. They get a yellow card, and if they do it again, they get a red card.
Yeah, slap on the wrist.
Yeah, exactly. And we educate and we explain that that's not what it's about. And at times, there are conversations that go on in that group where somebody will be antagonistic or have a viewpoint that other people will jump in and what we're not there to do is censor people's opinions, right? We will always keep a very close eye on it. So the members of the board and our regional champions.
It's got to be a safe group.
Exactly. It has to be safe, and it has to be confidential. But we also have to allow people freedom of speech. And sometimes the champions or a board member will step in and go, not as a member or representative of the board, but just as another participant and another woman in the industry, by saying, maybe that was a bit harsh, or do you think that's a fair reflection? And I understand your point of view, but can you see it from another's point of view? So there is that, but for the most part, I would say 95, 96, 97% of the support that is provided, or the guidance that is sought in there, is responded to in a very positive and supportive way. So that's the Facebook group. Then take the board. So we have values that that are published on our website. So, and we have terms and conditions that every single member of the board signs up to and agrees to. And those terms and conditions outlines how we need to operate, what is expected of us as board members. We have a very clear voting process on big subjects. So we have to have a majority of the board as a quorum for voting, and we have to have a majority in favour before we pass a motion. So it's very democratic, and I will often, last week, for example, at our board meeting, we're now onboarding 3 new board members. I can't tell you who they are yet because it's not been communicated yet, but we've every year, as is always the case.
I heard of one through the grapevine.
Oh, well, you can ask me afterwards, because I will not confirm or deny now. But 3 members of the board, Ben Madden, Ian McKenzie, and there's one other about to move on, but not just yet, are stepping back because they've all got things going on, and we understand it's like I say, it's a passion project. So they're stepping away.
And Ian particularly, I mean, he's been involved for 3 years?
Probably 2 years, I think. 2 and a bit years, yes, yeah. So we understand it takes a lot. So we've been very grateful for what they've contributed so far, but it's time to add new blood and new dynamics.
I think also, to a certain extent, I think with the few men that you have on the board, to me, it kind of makes sense that they turn over maybe more frequently.
Yeah, because there isn't that many vacancies and opportunities.
Yeah,
exactly that.
And
exactly
I think to me, that kind of logically, structurally makes sense.
Yes, agreed. So we've got 2 new guys and another female joining the board very soon. So that communication will be out very shortly. And we sat and discussed every single candidate who submitted a video, and we sat and discussed them all democratically, the pros and cons, what they bring to the table. Everything is very much, everybody has a voice, everybody gets their opinion, and then we do a vote. And anything material, we'll always do a vote. Yeah. Sometimes if it's, okay, so Shanice, you're leading the partnership program. So Shanice, what is your proposal on this? You're closer to it than the rest of us. What do you recommend? And then we'll say, yeah, we think that's right, or we don't. But essentially, for the big stuff, we will always do a vote. I think sometimes it can be difficult when we're dealing with an external issue. So something that's happened in the industry, quite often I get contacted about certain things that have happened in the industry, or we're aware of this event.
Of an article or an event.
Loads of different things. Or someone's made this comment. One thing
or
that
another disappointing email panel.
Those types of things, right? Those types of things. And what we've always been very true to is we are not going to be antagonistic, and we are not going to be anti-men. Because in order to make meaningful change for the future, men are a part of this journey. They're part of the solution.
Right? It's hypocritical to go,
ridiculous.
Women need champions, men get out the way. You're
exactly.
Misogynistic idiots.
And
it's not going to help.
It is far from the truth, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes, is there bias? Of course. Is there unconscious bias? A lot of it.
Yeah.
So our job is to educate in a nice and a kind and an engaging way, not in an antagonistic way.
That's the thing. I think even, I've found as myself, as consider myself a pretty moderate liberal person with, I have still found fascinating insights throughout the courses. Like the ones that still stick with me is Rachel Hanniket.
Yes, yeah, Brooklyn.
Her one about language.
Yes.
Like that one hit me. Her whole story about when
she was
her
brilliant.
partner was in hospital. Giving birth, and how she was treated too, and then she went on to, I remember just those little things, and then interestingly, where we sit age-wise, my wife is coming into menopause period. Again, the conversation around that, as men, we're not the best informed about our own bodies at the best of times. So but our partners definitely not. And I, those two things, they're quite different things, but those are two things that instantly stick out for me from all the conferences. In the 5.
No, we just done our 4th.
So the 4 I've been to. Those are instant recollections of things where I literally sat there and was like, I'd never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
I'd never looked at it that way, or I'd never considered it that way. And I think that's a really important thing. So look, we are about to run out of time. So very quickly, and you just alluded to it a little bit, talk to me about the new partnerships thing, because you had the kind of WiEA membership partnership before, but you guys have really kind of rebuilt that this year, and it is a lot more comprehensive in terms of what it is, and it's a vital part of how you guys fund yourselves and continue to grow and do good things. So can you tell us a little bit about the WiEA partnership program in got an elevator pitch
30
on
seconds.
This one, and why people should be getting on board?
Sure. So first of all, it was the charter. We originally launched it as a charter. And that principle still remains, which is become a charter member and publicly advocate and say, as a business, I am going to adhere to a certain set of principles, which is about providing equality, providing equal opportunities, letting the women in our business have a voice, ensuring that there is policies around menopause or around parental leave, etc., so that we have a base level of expectation for women in our industry. So that's the starting point. We realized that was not enough, and it wasn't maybe landing as in the way that we anticipated it would.
I think it was a bit easy just to sign up,
to tick a box,
stick it on your website, and be like, job done.
Exactly. And of course, we're not about ticking boxes, right? No, and change will not have.
The job, as we know from the stats, the work is far from done.
100%. So the WiEA Partnership Program now takes that to the next level. So a business can sign up, and they can sign up for the base level of memberships. And I think 5 is the base level of membership. And that means that they have 5 members, and they can allocate them to 5 members of their team. If you've got 100, you can still start with 5 and see how you build, and then go up to the next level and so on. And that will give you access to a hub. Now, the hub is work in progress. We haven't finished the hub. Creating the hub is about access to resources. Part of the challenge we have with the Facebook group, whilst it is great for what it does, it is pretty one-dimensional. It's I post a problem and people respond. Whereas I can't go in and access resources. I can't for policies. I can't have a chat room where I can hold a webinar on particular subjects. So we're developing this hub, which will give each member access to the hub, which has resources which will allow them to access webinars. So being a member also gives you preferential rates and early access to, and often exclusive access to, particular events that we're doing. One that we've just announced this week, Sarah Cox, who was our incredible referee speaker at the most recent conference, is doing now a training for a group of about 30 women in Rightmove on the 2nd of July. And this is only open to our partnership members. So we want to give exclusive access to the members who are working most closely with us. And the reality is, Kristjan, yes, it is it's a revenue generator for us to put back into continuing to drive that change for all of our benefit, right? To elevate not just women in the industry,
hub, like you said,
the industry. Exactly.
Continue to evolve the NOTA conference.
Exactly. So, all of this is about improving the industry for the greater good for everybody, because more representation from women, better, more confident women, it's going to help all of our businesses.
And I think that is the overriding thing I've taken away from every conference.
Yeah.
Is this togetherness.
Absolutely. Together we thrive.
Let's look after each other. Let's lift each other up.
Yeah.
There is no them and us.
Exactly.
Yeah, it isn't a battlefield. It isn't a competition. We're only going to get there if we get there together.
100%. Yeah, exactly. So, the membership partner scheme is something that's going to enable us to, and by the way, we will include men in that as well. So
we've signed both businesses up.
Exactly.
We instantly did. We were a member of the charter.
I remember.
I was delighted to see that you guys evolved it into something a bit more.
Yes.
And we have signed up both businesses, even though we definitely don't have 10 staff across both businesses. Might surprise some people, but yeah, no,
but that's phenomenal. And I know you are.
Yeah, it'd be great to see.
But you can believe, or you can actually support, active support. And what I love about the base and the depository is you and other supplier partners have said to us after or before conference, we want to support WiEA beyond the conference, around the clock, around the calendar year. How do we do that? And that's one of the reasons that we built the partnership program, so that other businesses could advocate more, but put it into practice and demonstrate to their people that you get value from this as well. So it's not ticking a box or sticking it on your email signature or your website.
Very cool. Well, look, we've run out of time because of my very busy
Shocker.
diary today. We could have talked on for much longer, as I often do. But Danny, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Likewise.
Thank you for schlepping over to Shoreditch.
You're very welcome. Enjoyed it.
It's been a joy. Guys, thank you very much. Hopefully a great one. Do please go to the WiEA website and find out more about the partnerships. And hopefully get your business, or talk to your manager or director if it's not your business, about getting on board.
Get them signed up.
Huge value. If you haven't yet been to the annual WiEA event, I mean, you've missed it for this year, but preparations are going to start underway.
Already underway.
Year. Set aside some budget for next year, whether you take your whole team or some of your team, go.
We're just on that point. We are working on the theme at the minute, and we're super excited for the theme for next year.
There we go.
You heard it here first.
Not a conference theme next year.
It definitely continues with not a conference, but you can't call it not a conference twice in a row, right? Yeah, Ms. Franks is very much on the theme, and yeah, it's exciting.
Fantastic. So look, do get involved. Go to the WiEA website. Get involved. Sign up as to the partnership. You won't regret it. Set aside some budget for tickets for next year. And again, if you can take your whole team, do. But if you can't, try and send a blend of women and men to the event. Mm-hmm. Maybe lean into the women percentage, but definitely have a couple of the boys attend as well, because it really is an event where everybody walks away learning something, and it genuinely is something truly different.
Agreed.
So it's been an absolute pleasure.
You're
Thank you
very
for joining me
welcome.
today.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. See you soon.